Hi, Mental Health on the Mighty. My name is Chrissie Hodges. Thank you for having me today. It's always so great to be able to show up once a month and talk about what I feel has been important in my own recovery. And I am a certified peer support specialist. I work with people who live with mental health, and it's also so great to be able to take their experiences just collectively as a whole for what we go through with mental health symptoms and diagnoses, and be able to just talk directly to our community here. I feel so honored to be able to continually provide live feed here at Mental Health on the Mighty. So thank you so much, and thank you all for joining. So today I just wanted to, first of all, if you watch my feeds on Mental Health on the Mighty, it's been a month, and as we all know, we can't go get our hair cut. We can't get our hair dyed or anything. So I realized my hair is out of control. There's not really anything I could do with it except for just keep drying it, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So my humble apologies to you that you have to look at this. I was saying, I look more and more like a Muppet every day. I feel like. But my hair is not the topic of today. Today, I really just wanted to, the last couple times I went live on Mental Health and the Mighty, I did what I was referred to as a fireside chat. So one of my nonprofit, well, first, let me just really quickly tell you, my name is Chrissie Hodges. I'm a certified peer support specialist here in the state of Colorado. I work with people all over the world, providing support and referrals for OCD therapists. And I also am the author of Pure OCD, The Invisible Side of Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. And I own a government contract that puts peer support specialists in our state institutions. Just such a place that really does need that support of peers. Anyway, I also am the executive director and founder of OCD Game Changers. And with this nonprofit, we try to create community. We bring people together, spread awareness and resources, and elevate people in our community that are doing really cool stuff, that are trying to reach people all over that live with OCD. One of the things that we've done, that to circle back, one of the things that we've done since this COVID and coronavirus crisis has happened is I started doing weekly fireside chats, pulling from the Great Depression, when the president would come on and address the country when they were feeling really scared and when they were feeling helpless and hopeless, just to kind of let people know that he was experiencing it with them. And it felt very much like sitting by a fire. And so I just had this idea of how none of us really knew how to feel when this first started. And when you're grasping at what I should be feeling or how things should be, which should is such an awful word anyway, it helps to know what other people are experiencing. So I thought, why not bring people in my community, which is the OCD community, but of course mental health as well. Why don't I bring them on live weekly and have an open-ended conversation of, how are you handling this? What has been your emotional response to this? And it has been not only a lifeline for me as someone who has really struggled emotionally through this time of COVID, but I get, just tons and tons of feedback of people really feeling like no matter what emotion we've hit on the spectrum, they really felt like they weren't alone. And I think that's the one point I want to drive home today. I know that we say you're not alone, and that's such a tagline, and it's such, it almost gets annoying to hear it over and over and over, because you can hear that all day long, but then you feel alone still. So I'm hoping today, by sharing with you what my experience has been, and also what some other people have expressed as they've come onto these fireside chats, that you really will feel like your experience is normalized, that you are not walking alone in this, and that people are experiencing a vast array of emotions, good and bad, through this. So first, I want to say two things before I kind of get into what I really want to talk about. If you are interested in watching the fireside chats, they're at my OCD Game Changers Facebook page. You can scroll down. We do 2 a week right now, and they've really, really been phenomenal. And you can also find them on Made of Millions Foundation Facebook page. And also, I wanted to give a shout out to Made of Millions, who just started a campaign called #NoOneEverToldMe, or No One Told Me. If you haven't heard of that, go check them out on Instagram, Made of Millions Foundation. or on their Facebook page. And it's for any sort of mental health symptom. You can submit a photo and something that if no one ever told you, and how things would be different if someone had told you. I'm just submitting mine today and I'm really excited about it. And I would show you right now, but it's not ready to go. So I'll be posting that really soon on my Facebook. So two great things I wanted to remind you of. Also wanted to give a shout out to all the people out there that are taking their platforms or even exploring new advocacy projects just to reach out to people, just to connect to people during this time where we are experiencing such a loss of human connection. That loss of human connection is really starting to take a toll on me. It's starting to take a toll on many, many clients and people reaching out worldwide. And it just goes to show what an integral part it is to just have the ability, connection, even being able to see someone's face. And I know we're losing that as more states are adopting the mask laws and everywhere you go, people are in masks. It feels invasive almost that you can't see people's face. You can't see. I mean, the other day I was in the store and someone said something to me like, I really like your shirt. And I thought that I was getting in trouble for something because they kind of moved in and I was like, wait, what? And she was like, no, I really like your shirt. And I thought, oh my gosh, I couldn't even see that her facial expression was smiling and that was genuine and it was a connection. And that was something I really missed that I didn't even know that I missed, if that makes sense. So in this time, I just want to thank all of you who are here today, who are continuing to reach out to other people or just showing up and being part of this community where right now we need community more than ever. Let me take a sip of water. So today I just wanted to talk to you about the emotional roller coaster that COVID has been taking many of us on. And I'm talking about it today in an effort to help normalize what you may be experiencing, whether that's today or later today or earlier today or 3 weeks ago, or maybe even until next month when I see you again. One of the things that I've discovered, not only in my own self, but through having people on the OCD Game Changers Fireside Chats, is that there is no way any of us can predict A, how we have been handling this, and B, how we can feel and are going to feel day by day. Most of what I'm hearing from people is it's a roller coaster ride. One day you're way up at the top and flying high, and then, and it's the anticipation. And the next day you're plummeting down and you're scared. It's just one emotion after the other. And sometimes that can be hour by hour. All I can talk about is my own experience. So to share a little bit, especially since last time we met, which was about a month ago, it was the beginning of April. Yes, we're in May now. That was just a few weeks in. I was really struggling those first few weeks, and I believe I did express that in my live video at Mental Health on the Mighty. I was really struggling with the emotional impact of this. I was absolutely struggling with the fact that people are going to get coronavirus. They are going to suffer. And then some people, unfortunately, will lose their battle to it. And then I was also, on the flip side of that, had a lot of sadness, a lot of empathy for people who are losing their jobs, people who have been furloughed, people who are really worried about money, or people who don't have the certainty of when things are going to get somewhat semblance of normalcy so they can start to plan for their future. And my message in that video was, you can have empathy for both. You do not have to choose. And I was struggling so bad with that because of shame, because of social media shame and news shame, and people making me feel like I couldn't feel for both sides. And it was either this way, or you did this, or people died, or you did this and people lost their lives, but they should be grateful they're still alive. And all of that rhetoric was so triggering for me. As I mentioned last time, I lost a business during the recession. I know exactly what it feels like to have zero control when everything had been wonderful and you had a great projection, and then you lose everything. And so up to the last live video, I was struggling more emotionally. After that, it probably took about a week or a week and a half to feel not alarmed every time that I woke up. And that feeling was almost scarier once I realized it was happening. Now, let me explain. I think the novelty had worn off. Not that it was novel. I'm not saying that, yay, this situation, yay, COVID, but the novelty of how different things were and how people reacting and how kind of the shock value of what life looked like every day. And then about a week and a half came, and I remember the day I woke up, opened the window, could hear all the birds outside. There were some deer out in the yard. And I was like, oh, and I remember looking at my calendar and going, oh, I have this many clients per day. I have this and this and this. And then I need to go to the store. And then I was going to go to Denver that day. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go and drop by the track and do a workout. And then my brain remembered, you may not be able to go to the track. It may be closed. And I had this visceral reaction. I was going to be pissed if I couldn't get on the track and do a workout. But then B, I thought, I forgot. I forgot that we're here. And that made me feel very shameful. I felt like, well, why am I not concerned? And shouldn't I be more concerned with this? And I didn't want to normalize that this was our new way of life. I don't know if any of you can relate to that, but I didn't want to feel like I was getting comfortable, because to me, I knew deep down, this feels like a traumatic time for so many of us, emotionally and financially and health wise. And I thought to myself, I can't normalize to this. I can't see this, that this is going to be okay. And I can't get comfortable in this. And so I spent the next few days really beating myself up, going, what is wrong with you? You should feel horrible that this is going on. And you're, getting angry that the track might be closed, or, you're not even thinking about it. You're listening to the birds. And here's what I relate it to. And in hindsight, it's so much easier to look at it this way. I did not feel this way for a few days. And in fact, that kind of spiraled me into feeling depressed, which I get really scared when I get depressed, because I also get suicidal thoughts. And I'm high risk when I get that because I've attempted suicide before. And it's hard for me to get out of that space once I'm in it. But this is what it felt like. Have you ever lost someone close to you, or lost a pet, or lost a friendship, or had something really horrible happen that made you experience some really intense grief? And within the week or so after the event, you're experiencing shock, you're experiencing all these emotions, but then somebody says something, or you say something, or you think something, and you laugh and you go, I do not have the right to laugh. Why would I laugh if this person has gone? If I've experienced this loss, I should not be laughing, because that means I'm not taking it serious, or that means that I'm, disrespecting the person that I've lost, or the pet that I've lost, or the friendship that I've lost, and it's almost that weird position where you go, I should not be happy for X amount of times, or that means something about me. This is very black and white thinking, but it really does hit many of us in grief, which is what a lot of us are experiencing during this. The grief aspect of losing our way of life. Whether this situation is great for you or not, it's still grief worthy to know that the way the world was 8 weeks ago no longer is. Big changes like that, even if they're for the better, can really put you in a position of feeling like, well, I'm grieving the old way that things are. But that also comes with the cost of, I'm going to experience a lot of fluctuating up and down emotions where we tend to judge, right? Now, I don't know if it's just those of us that live with a mental illness. I know for myself with OCD, depression, and even substance use, I'm so hyper aware of how I feel, and I'm so hyper judgmental about those feelings. If I feel sad, then it's the world's ending. Oh my gosh. If I feel happy, I wish life could be like this all the time. I'll never feel sad again. If I feel shame, there's no way I could ever get out of it. Things like that. I'm not sure what it's like for you, or if it's what it's like, even diagnosis by diagnosis, or if that even matters. But just the hyper awareness of how our emotions are. And for many of us, because we live with mental illness and the internal stigma and the external stigma, the need to control those emotions so people don't think, well, they're just nuts. And I don't like to use that language because it's not strength-based, but that is a stigmatizing term that I think is relevant when we're stigmatizing ourselves. Constantly judging, constantly monitoring, being hypervigilant of our emotions to make sure people don't think, oh, they're losing it. It must be the mental illness. Oh, I wonder how so-and-so is handling it because they're already, how they're handling the coronavirus because they're already mentally ill and unstable. All of those stigma words that start coming up, all of those things that in kind of a normal world where we're not experiencing a crisis that's so, threaded with uncertainty, we can have some sort of control over them. We could have some sort of normalcy. And now it feels like that's all out the window. And when I'm experiencing heavy emotions, and sometimes that are perceived as negative, shame, sadness, anger, guilt, things like that, all of a sudden I need to isolate. I need to keep these to myself. I don't want people to think that I'm losing it. I don't want people to think that because I have a mental illness that my reaction is going to be different than theirs. And that, what I have learned recently, is an unhealthy coping mechanism. It's almost over the top, the same position that I was in for 12 years when I didn't have, or I didn't know I had OCD, and I just lived in silence. It's just suppressing the way that I feel to appease everybody else. So one of the things that I've learned in the last couple of weeks, not only through the Fireside Chats, because it's interesting, the Fireside Chats I had the first week, I rewatched them and I was like, oh my God, how things feel so different, or they seem so different. And I've worked through so many emotions. But one of the things I've learned in rewatching some of these is it's so helpful to know these people, whether they're advocates, people, whether that's family members or people that live with OCD or who are addiction specialists or OCD specialists, we're all walking together. And we're all experiencing pretty much the same emotions, but we don't have the same timeline. This week, I'm feeling tired. I'm not sleeping well, which is a result of anxiety. But the weekend, I felt okay. I did what I needed to do. I got outside in the wilderness, which helps, feet touching the dirt, hands touching rocks and trees and hiking trails. If it makes me feel connected. But last week, I visited my favorite store and just to buy some groceries, and I had an anxiety attack watching everybody in their masks, and I couldn't see their faces, and it scared me because I didn't have that connection, and people were standoffish and they were very much like, oh God, don't come near me, 6 feet. And it was almost traumatizing for me to experience stuff that I felt before in my life, to re-experience that in the world we live today, where I've never had to experience that because I thought I was able to create my own world. Not create my own world, but create my own routine, I guess. So the vastly different weeks, but I can't remember who said it. It was on one of the Fireside Chats, or it just may have been one of my friends last week, actually, after a live stream we did. And that's right. And he said, you just have to hang on through this emotion, because that was the night that I was just at my wit's end, worried I was depressed, worried I was going to go down that rabbit hole again. I know many of you know that, where you just feel like you're hanging on by a thread, and what if you fall all the way down to rock bottom, and it's scary. He said, you just got to hang on tomorrow might not feel like today. And I didn't believe him. I'm like, fool, you don't know what I'm experiencing right now. Like, this is worse than anything you can imagine. But I just took his words and I said, okay, you know what? You're right. I can hang on through tonight and then I can reevaluate tomorrow and I can get as comfortable. And this is something I do when I'm experiencing heavy emotions. I can get as comfortable as I can in whatever emotion I'm feeling. It does not matter the spectrum, either happiness, complacency, numbness, or sadness, anger, guilt, shame, all the things that we view as negative, even though they're very important too. I can get as comfortable as I can in each one of those emotions and be present while they are there. Because at this point, y'all, this can change hourly for us. You can see something on the news or social media, or you can find out something about your job, or, you can develop a cough and then all of a sudden you're scared and worried about that uncertainty. Like, things can change moment by moment for us because everything is so heightened. And so I took that and I thought, this is how I'm going to get through it. I'm going to get as comfortable as I can in what this situation brings me. I'm not going to judge what that emotion is, but I'm also not going to force it to change to happy or to lenient or no worries. I'm not going to force that either, because these are trying times. These are scary times. These are times where we don't know what things are going to look like next month or 6 months or a year. And it's shaky ground for those of us that really crave that certainty, that crave that routine in order to keep our mental health healthy. But I also want to tell you this before I end. What we have been through has prepared us for this, more so than what a lot of people are experiencing, which is a complete break in their daily life, in their daily routine, in their daily everything. We have already experienced these things. We have been there. And often we have been there and experienced them so internally, no one else knows what's going on. Or maybe we did have an outward break and people did experience what we were going through. For me, my symptoms absolutely have ruined relationships, absolutely have wrecked parts of my life when I was younger. We've been there. We get it. We have the experience when not a lot of people do. So that also gives us a bit of an edge of resilience. I always say this when I'm meeting with y'all because it's so true. Of resilience and strength, even when you don't feel that way. Resilience is not like this, oh, I wear this badge of resilience and look how tough I am. No way. It is an internal ability to endure things and persevere, regardless of what persevere looks like, because we've all had those experiences. We've got that, y'all. We have it. And we have a community that is strong, that understands that knows what it's like to be there, and also has a great deal of empathy. So it has been really hard to watch people around me. My husband, my husband lives with anxiety and depression, and he hasn't been too triggered through this, but he did say to me the other day, and I thought this was hilarious. He was like, this is the first time in my life I felt like one of the most sane people on the planet. And it's true. It's true, because where many of us, through developing mental health symptoms, have just endured and endured and endured and learned how to adapt, learn how to work through the system, or still working through the system, still seeking treatment, but you continue to try, right? Where we have already done that when things are out of control and we're trying to figure them out. Many people don't get that opportunity and haven't until now. So I hope that helps bring you some comfort, that you do have the strength within you. You do have things inside of you that other people don't. That makes you just a little bit of ahead of the game. I mean, not that it's a game, but just in knowing how to adapt, knowing how to persevere, And now the way I want to end is knowing that whatever emotion that you experience is valid. It matters. It can be part of your experience, but it's not anything you haven't experienced before or again, or you will again, and not anything you haven't worked through before, which is what makes you special and strong. Before I referred to stigmatized language and how we stigmatize ourselves, I have such, not that I didn't before, because that is not true, but just a profound respect and just view of those of us that have dealt with these sorts of crisis situations just in our own brain and done whatever we took, whatever we needed to do to push forward, to keep fighting, and also not to bring and shame other people along the ride, which is unfortunately what we're seeing a lot of with this. When people are faced with uncertainty, lots of things happen. Our community is strong. Our community is resilient, and our community is here for you. With that said, I want to leave you with this. Whatever emotion you're feeling today, tonight, tomorrow, moving forward, or anything, get as comfortable as you can in it. Try not to judge where you are in it and why it's happening. Just let it be there and try not to fight for it to be different, because you will move through it. You will persevere, and it won't feel that way forever. That's my message for you today. I hope it's helpful. I'm so grateful to be part of this community. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful to know that I am not alone in this. And I will be eager to see what things look like in 1 month when I'm back here on mental health on the Mighty at the beginning of June. Until then, please take care of yourself. Please allow yourself to feel however you need to feel. Know that you're not alone. Know that it is validated and that we're walking this path together. We are. Whether that's up, down, sideways, however we need to do it, we are a community that is strong through this. And I look forward to seeing you next month at the beginning of June. Stay safe.